Today on Flight Ringers, we are reviewing Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes 243. It was published on June 19th, 1978. Earth's Last Stand. It's part 3 of the 5-part EARTHWAR. It's written by Paul Levitz and drawn by the new art team of Joe Staton and Jack Abel, who are unfortunately replacing Jim Sherman as the regular artist. We have Corey Adams doing the colors, Gene Simic on letters, Al Milgrom is the editor. And we're looking at the cover right now, drawn by Mike Grill and Joe Rubenstein. It looks like we're featuring the Legion of Substitute Heroes this time around.
Yeah, they get a big section in here.
Mm-hmm. It's a little misleading. They basically only have a cameo in this. The other notable thing is they have gone back to their Silver Age costumes. The Dave Cockrum, Mike Grill ones are gone.
Wait, they had new costumes?
They did. In fact, we reviewed a story not too long ago with Night Girl wearing hers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she had
the Vampirilla costume.
Yeah, but they didn't show the other guys in that.
They did. Not in that issue. I have it written down, actually. It was issue 211. Mike Grill drew it. There's a backup story about the subs taking possession of the clubhouse. And we see Chlorophyll Kid, Stone Boy, and Fire Lad all in new costumes.
What were they like? Did they show a lot of skin?
Stone Boys did.
Let's see.
Fire Lad's, it's Fire Lad, right? His didn't look too different. Chlorophyll Kids looked radically different.
Well, I got to flip through this. I already forgot what happened in this.
Okay.
I'm looking at the cover and I don't remember them fighting these robots. Did they?
I don't either. I don't remember robots either.
Yeah, I don't think they fight any robots in this comic. And the Earth War, what's a recap of the Earth War? It's like the war between the Dominators and the Kundas and the planet Earth. And
a certain secret organization.
Oh, right.
Behind it all.
Mm-hmm.
They are fighting the robots on page 16. Which has, in my opinion, the best artwork of the whole book on the bottom half.
I'll peek at it. We'll get to it in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, decent cover. It is a little misleading for all the Substitute fans who are expecting a big adventure with them. But I don't know. They do pretty good in this comic, as I recall.
So.
And so, yeah, I like the splash panel by Staton and Abel. I think they're a pretty good team.
They are. I mean, it's hard for me to get past the disappointment of losing Jim Sherman. So when you go right from that to this, it's kind of underwhelming. But to be honest, I mean, Staton's a very competent draftsman, and the panels are laid out very well, and you don't have the confusion you often have even in some Jim Sherman's work. It's very expertly done.
Right. Yeah. Staton is, I mean, even at this time, he was probably kind of a
vet.
Yeah, veteran I mean, he'd been working at Charlton and doing stuff over there and probably done a billion comics. Well, even today, Sherman probably has drawn less than 100 comics or something, right?
Right. He's not as flashy as some, but he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And the Jack Abel was a pretty good inker for him, I think.
Yeah.
This is kind of these first 3 pages here, just a recap of Earth War up to this point.
Right. I kind of like that on page, I guess, 2, the way she's recapping it. She's kind of like looking over at the panels that are the flashback panels, I guess.
Oh, this stuff, yeah.
Like she's thinking back. Yeah.
They're actually like the very same things that are on the first page. He got to draw them twice.
Yep.
I think this Officer Aaron, her first appearance was not in this one, but maybe in the last couple during EARTHWAR. It was when she first showed up. And this is the Legion headquarters monitor room.
Mm-hmm.
Looks different every time.
Yeah, and Levitz does a little trick there on the bottom page where you're going into the Legion, that panel with the circular light, and then you're looking through it on the bottom too. But then he tells you that it's not actually being viewed through the cold and impartial eye of the Legion monitor, but through the amplified optics of an ultra-modern sniper scope. So it's sort of a transition, like it makes it seem like we're seeing through the monitor, but you're actually looking through a sniper's scope.
Yeah, I think the caption boxes kind of make it more confusing than it has to be.
Right.
Like she's leaving the room and she misses this emergency signal or whatever it is that comes on.
Right.
And then this panel, I guess, is like a close-up of the signal. And then it transitions to the view through a sniper scope of a view through the sniper scope of the place where they're holding the diplomat meeting with the Dominators.
Right.
It says, even as she closes the outer door of the headquarters complex, the Dominators are about to open the outer door of their craft and emerge for the conference. And that event is not being viewed through the Legion monitor. It's actually being viewed through a sniper scope.
Right.
I don't know. They could have maybe just colored these a little differently, done a slightly different drawing where we see, I don't know what. In fact, I don't even know what this is in this panel.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of like visual misdirection, like because the panel above, you've got that lit circular red thing, and it seems to imply that it's zooming in, but both of those are actually the sniper scope.
Yeah, the transition is from panel 4 to panel 5.
Right.
I thought the transition was from panel 5 to panel 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which would, to me, that would make more sense because they're drawn at the same scale, you know?
Right.
I never thought about that until we started talking about it, and now I'm kind of confused.
Right.
I just kind of glossed over it when I read it the first time.
Sure.
Oh yeah, so the sniper scope, or the sniper who had the scope, has shot some missiles at the Dominators of the conference.
Mm-hmm. Mini nukes, even.
Yeah, they're small self-propelled nuclear devices.
Yes.
And I kind of tried to read up on just how small you could make a nuclear bomb. And I think nobody has really made small nuclear bombs yet.
Really?
Like they call them suitcase bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a Cold War kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just like a rumor.
Oh, they can't make them that small?
I don't know. Like they'd be too heavy, you know, if like you had it like to lug it around.
Okay.
And also, I mean, I'm still not sure just how dangerous a small nuclear explosion would be. Like big one messes up everything forever.
Right.
So how little could it be, especially when they're shooting? There's at least 3, 4, 7 of them. They're shooting at these Dominators.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess they're really desperate to get rid of the Dominator guys at the diplomatic conference.
Mm-hmm.
So talks will break down. But I think the Legionnaires take care of the nukes pretty easily.
Yep.
And then they go after the guys who shoot them. Yeah, there's only 2 guns that shot 7 missiles. Like they're semi-automatic, I guess, nuclear guns.
They're not that far away, so they're not super worried about exposure or being fried themselves. So
I think maybe Levitz he's fudging the science a little bit.
Right.
But also it turns out these guys are holograms, so maybe that's why they don't care.
Oh, yeah. But how did they launch them then?
Here's a classic this is a Jim Sherman pose with the butt forward
Classic wildfire butt shot.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about his physique last week.
Right.
And how like he chooses what his butt looks like.
He wills himself to be muscular.
Yeah. Yeah. So they discover they're holograms or they're not real. And then back to the conference.
But if they are holograms, how are they launching missiles? Or is that misdirection? Like they're being launched from elsewhere, I guess?
Yeah, maybe they're not holograms. Maybe they're guys who can turn their bodies immaterial somehow.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they're big Zitilians. And that's just a guess on my part. I haven't read ahead. Maybe.
Is that really how you pronounce that?
Hell, if I know how you pronounce that.
Big zit.
When you have a word with no vowels, I don't know how you're supposed to say it.
Right.
I remember when Mr. Mixie showed up in the Byrne Superman. He explains how to pronounce his name, and it's Mixiez Pitalik.
Right.
Is how on the cartoon, it was always something else. It was always Mixus Pilik or something.
Like in the Super Friend days, it was Mixel Plix, which doesn't make sense at all, but that's what's always stuck in my head.
Yeah, I think that's how I always heard it. Or maybe you kind of said it with an S or an X at the end. I think it just ended with a K, maybe in my memory. But
Mixel Plick.
Yeah,
maybe.
But it could be anything.
Until the Gilbert Godfrey animated one where he goes to the trouble of explaining how to pronounce it, and it's Mixiez Spitlick, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The newer, like the '90s Superman.
Yeah. That's after the Byrne explanation of pronunciation.
Right.
But so going by that, I don't know. You just, I guess for that planet Big Zittle, you could just put in. You could maybe say Big Stole or Bagzittle. Bags. They all have bad acne on that planet.
Mm-hmm.
Big Zittles.
Big zits.
And that may or may not be the species of these terrorist guys.
Right.
And here on at the conference, they're showing the close up of the Dominators, which really evolved over time. They seem like they're almost wearing helmets or something with a funny kind of maybe breather thing on their mouth.
Microphone, something. Yeah. I think that's how they looked in the 60s as well.
Oh, they were there in the 60s?
I think so. I mean, the Dominators definitely were, but I think their mouths looked like that. It wasn't probably till like Invasion, right, that they started looking a little more gruesome.
That's when that was my first exposure, was in Invasion, and they all wore green robes, and they introduced I don't know if they introduced it. They floated the notion of the bigger the red spot, the more important they were.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they didn't have this kind of mouth. They had big fangs.
This is more of a morally neutral appearance, I guess. Like you wouldn't look at it and automatically assume they're good or evil. It doesn't scream evil or scary in the way that their later look.
Yeah. I mean, they're called Dominators.
Right.
It seems weird that you would like if I were to invite Dominators to the peace conference, I probably wouldn't hold my breath,
They should have, you call it democracy, not domination, right? Capitalism.
We're going to need you guys to change your names to the Democracinators.
Right.
And also that whole, I guess they call it a caste system. It gets real crazy and complicated. Like I remember they show up in the, like the New 52 Levitz stuff. And there's like this really giant corpulent Dominator who's like the ultra top dog Dominator. And he's got a big circle.
The Dominator.
Yeah. But he's got a big red circle and there's a bunch of little white, like, I don't know, like he has all his medals in there or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, it's kind of gone way off the rails.
Right.
By now after this stuff.
Maybe they're kind of like, it kind of reminds me of how the Klingons looked way different in the 60s and I guess 70s compared to later when they had the more grotesque foreheads. I think maybe at some point they tried to explain that as like offshoots or like different races of them.
Yeah, like the people from the southern hemisphere don't have it. There's the guys in the south are the smoothies, and the guys in the north are the lumpies or something.
Right. So maybe these are the tamer faction.
Yeah. Some other cool alien looking guys here. This red and yellow character, and this dude who looks like, I don't know, he looks like something from Space Ghost or something.
Oh yeah. And with the beard.
Yeah. And then we have on Tier, who is a science police guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we already did an episode where he kind of shows his true colors, but it's what year was this?
This
78.
78.
So about 5 years from now, we get the real dirt on Tier.
Mm-hmm.
This next sequence kind of is just space battle that the Legionnaires get involved in. Oh, and speaking of Klingons, that's kind of what the Khoons always were in Legion. They were more Klingons than the Dominators were, and this guy kind of looks like what a Klingon would have looked like on original series Star Trek.
Now, am I remembering right, or didn't they end up yellow or pink or something later?
I think they were just the pastel colors. I think they were baby blue, pink, and like light yellow, banana yellow.
Okay.
Well, not banana. Banana's like a bright yellow, huh? What do you call a light yellow?
Lemon yellow? I don't know.
I don't know either. But they're about this color.
I really like the tiny yellow Legionnaires swooping down from the top on the left side. It looks like almost like Mike Mignola.
Oh yeah, they look like they're falling even.
Right.
But yeah, that's a really strange kind of styling. It almost looks like a Rick Estrada drawing.
Yeah.
Like just how kind of flat it becomes, and the black spotting on them. And there's Element Lad. He looks like he has big round breasts.
Oh yeah.
Here's some more cool aliens. These are some aliens I'd like to see make a reappearance sometime. Yeah, these guys are neat. They have like bug eyes and weird helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh yeah. Probably just guys he sort of made up on the fly.
Yeah. I think this action is all happening is it on Earth or is it on Weber's world? They're on Weber's world. But here it looks like they're in a satellite above Weber's world. Yeah,
we have three factions of the Legion, I think, floating around in this issue, all in different places. It's a little hard to keep straight.
Yeah, I think these guys are on Weber's world. There's some that are still on Earth, and then towards the end, the married Legionnaires come out of retirement and fly towards Earth. Right. Just to spoil it a little ahead of time.
And let's see, which faction? Wildfire's on the...
It was Wildfire, Superboy, Sunboy, Colossal Boy, Element Lad.
Right.
And maybe there's a Phantom Girl was there too, Dawn Star. Right. Not Phantom Girl, Dawn Star.
And we have Brainiac 5 floating around somewhere on his own.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
So a lot to keep track of, to try to keep straight.
Right. I made note of the use of the term pressor beams. It says these Khoon guys are using tractor and pressor beams to push the Khoondish ships. Oh no, the Legion ship is using tractor and pressor beams, and I never really heard of pressor beams. It's like the reverse of a tractor beam.
Right. Makes sense.
But
like a repulsor.
Yeah. I looked it up did an internet search, and it showed up on this like sci-fi dictionary Wikipedia thing. And it said that it's kind of a term that they started using in sci-fi in the 30s. So it's kind of an old term that I guess Levitz dusted off and stuck in this comic. But there's like a whole fleet, I guess, of Kundish ships, and there's like 6 Legionnaires going to take them on. Maybe
Yes.
8. Here's the non-spacey ones in the ship still.
And they've got their fishbowl helmets back. Seems very inconsistent when they need them and when they don't in space. Like sometimes they have that sort of like completely translucent, whatever's protecting their lower bodies, protecting their upper body, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes they seem to need these.
Sometimes they wear what they call a trans suit, and in the time that I read it in the 90s, 2000s, that was all they wore. They never wore a fishbowl helmet. But maybe back then somebody just was applying logic and like you can't really have a plastic bag that goes over your head that would get in your mouth and stuff or something like that.
I don't remember when those were introduced. I feel like they were around at this point though. Maybe I'm wrong. But trans suits are great since they're more or less invisible. Like, I mean, sometimes they'll put a white halo around them a little bit to indicate them, but not always. And it works perfectly because if you forget, it's the ultimate excuse.
Right.
Like you can just, they were wearing it the whole time.
Yeah, you didn't see it because it's invisible, but it was there.
Right. Sort of similar to how they built in the function of the flight ring, saying that it turns invisible at will.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case anyone notices on any given page that a character is drawn without the ring.
Right. Well, and they also always are wearing telepathic earplugs to translate. Like in case some smart guy shows up and says, "Well, how are these 2 alien races communicating?" Like,
right,
translator in your ears, they always have it. On this page, Projectra creates an illusion of giant snakes with weird faces and scares the Kundish attack force. He says space monsters appearing out of nowhere. What insanity is this? This is actually kind of a cool drawing here where Phantom Girl is like, I guess she's just covering up his eyes, but it looks like she's scratching out his eyes or something. Like that's what her goal is. And she looks real intense.
I kind of wonder if Jack Abel misinterpreted the pencils. Like maybe her hands were supposed to be coming through his head or through his body to cover his, because it seems like kind of a silly thing to do otherwise, just to have her cover his eyes.
Right.
And you could see how like maybe the top of her arm on the left could be his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got that extra, well, I guess that's part of her costume.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I think either way, like if she was supposed to be phasing through his body, be kind of a challenge to draw that, to get that across, I think, in one little panel like that.
Right.
But also, yeah, just to cover his eyes does seem like...
Plus that look, that determined look, it's like she's trying to do something to him. But I can't remember. Does she... a lot of the phasey characters, can knock people out by phasing through them. I don't think she can do that, can she?
I don't know. To me...
Or did she?
I can't remember. To me, the idea of one person passing through another seems like it could be dangerous. Like you could kill somebody. Yeah. Like if you stick your 50% in this dimension hand through somebody's head.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And like the vision will knock people unconscious by doing that. Like he'll become partially solid while he's inside them and it cuts off the blood flow to their brain or something like that.
I really envy these guys who can become partially solid when they're inside of someone. This is a funny line. Now that I'm looking at it, he's like, he sees the space monster that Projector has conjured up. He's like, it must be the work of one of the Legionnaires. And as such, it is made to be smashed. And so I guess he goes and attacks Chameleon Boy, who has also turned himself into a monster.
which makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how an illusion is made to be smashed.
Yeah. I mean, he flies through them.
Right.
But it looks like all the Legionnaires are just dispatched by the overwhelming Kundish, either this one ship or they have a whole battle fleet. I'm not sure. Now we're at chapter 2, cutting to Brainiac 5. What's he doing? He's out here in space and he's observing.
Well, Wildfire sent him on a mission that he feels like is a waste of time because he feels like they could have just sent a message to to Weber's world. The nerve of Element Lad sending me to Weber's world as though I was useless. See if Wildfire can send help, Brainy, he said, as if an electronic message couldn't have done that.
Yeah, that is kind of strange.
Well, a few issues later, spoilers, it's revealed that during this time, Brainiac was actually insane, and he is actually out to get the Legion. And he
did Element Lad know that, and that's why he sent him on a wild goose chase mission?
Maybe that's one way you could interpret it. I
do you think more than likely editorially they had no idea that he was going to be insane for this issue?
I don't know. It's a tough call because, I mean, normally I would agree that they don't really plan that far ahead, but I think, by now, of course, Starlin had already done his first issue of his 3-parter, and it had established that somebody was a traitor, I believe. We don't see who it is. There's a hooded figure that murders someone, and Ultra Boy is framed for it. The hooded figure later turns out to be Brainiac 5, but they haven't revealed that yet. But since they knew he was coming back, he may have told them that his plan was to use Brainiac 5.
I thought the plan for that, the Jim Starlin stuff, was that it was all going to be one story. Am I wrong about that? Did he do one, like it's like 239 or whatever, with the it's like Ultra Boys framed for murder, and then was the 2-issue thing in 249, 250, 251?
Well, wait a minute. 239 was the first one, the Ultra Boy story, and then he was going to come back and do a 64-page special,
and that would have been the stuff that's in 250 and 251.
Correct.
Okay, I was thinking that it was all the 3 issues were meant to be one story, and they broke it up for some reason.
2 and 3 were meant to be one story, so it was meant to be a 2-parter, I guess.
I see. I guess I was thinking that, like, if he had meant to have it all be like a story that's the length of 3 comics that he thought was going to be all published in one book, and then when he turned it in, they said, no, we're going to do one now and then do the rest later. Then in that case, they would know. Somebody would have read all of it, and they would know that Brainiac 5, for the issues between 39 and 50, he was crazy that whole time.
Right.
But it sounds like that's not really what happened. Like, he did one, Starlin did one, and some time passed, and then he was going to come back and do the rest.
Right. I think he always intended to tell the second part of the story. It just wasn't meant to happen like directly after the first one, which it didn't.
Right.
At any rate, it seems likely to me because Levitz wrote it. He plotted it and Levitz wrote it. Like, Levitz probably knew that he was planning on, revealing Brainiac to be the bad guy. And nothing he says or does here contradicts that. In fact, it sort of supports it a little bit because it's a little angrier and grumpier than we usually see him.
Yeah, he's a little annoyed at this mission.
At least at this point in history. I guess later he's always grumpy. But
I guess he's watching a monitor showing the Kund forces being sent out to Earth.
Right.
Armies, tanks, gunships, I guess. But then he encounters a black hole and flies into it. Those are his words. Brainiac 5 describes it as a black hole.
Right.
There's another thing where Levitz is using the wrong word, I think, where like we know that you can't fly into a black hole and come out the other side or survive or anything.
Right.
Back on Weber's world, the gang, they'd been in contact with Brainiac 5. The signal's interrupted. And then these three guys, Mon-El, Ultra Boy, and Superboy, use their supervision in tandem or in triplicate to check it out. It's like these guys
each of them commenting as they do it.
Right.
Like a see no evil, hear no evil. I don't know. It looks like they were meant to do it in both. Like they're each saying part of the sentence.
It's like they're like a little boys club of guys who can see far and you can't.
And no, look at almost in the center of the page. Look at Element Lad.
Oh yeah, that's that other costume that he wore a little bit, huh?
Yep.
Weird.
Is that Cochran?
I can't remember.
Probably.
I think that's a Jim Sherman costume.
Oh, okay.
And he's got kind of like it flares out. His hair flares out on the side.
Right.
In kind of a weird way. To me, that says Sherman.
Mm-hmm.
But it could also be Walt Simonson. I don't know if that costume showed up first time in his issue. I don't remember what number that is. Maybe that even happened after this one. I don't know.
I don't think Simonson did that just because I'm such an uber fan of his. I think I would know if he'd done it. This whole scene, and I don't remember exactly what happens in the next issue, so maybe it's explained better. But right now it just seems sort of ridiculous because neither Brainiac 5 or any of the Legionnaires can figure out what happened to him when he got too close to a black hole. And this is like the 30th century. Like we kind of know what would happen if you fell into a black hole. Now we know you would disappear at least. But I
wonder if back then it was still so theoretical back in the 70s that like they hadn't done all the stuff that like it's just kind of common knowledge now that you get turned into an infinitely long piece of spaghetti if you go into a black hole and time slows down and all that stuff. They must just like somebody theorized the existence of something like that, but it wasn't public knowledge about what else really happened.
But never mind what could or would happen if you fell in. No one even seemed to suggest that might have happened to him, whether he'd live or get squeezed into spaghetti or not. Superboy says it's as though he disappeared by magic.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, Brainiac told them that there was a black hole.
Right.
Yeah, they know very little. They know less than Paul Levitz in 1978 knows about black holes.
Well, they should probably be in high school right now. They're out adventuring instead.
Yeah. Well, Superboy, he's just a kid from Smallville.
Right.
The double page ad for you could win a trip to Gotham.
Oh, nice. Who drew that? Can you tell?
It's one of those. It kind of looks like Garcia Lopez. Kind of looks like Dick Giordano.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like that guy Jose Delbo, inked by Giordano. Kind of had a look of Garcia Lopez, like Lopez Light. Did a lot of that promo stuff.
Yeah.
So it could be any of those guys. The Batman kind of has kind of a Neil Adams kind of look to his face, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But he had the Robin face, like the smile on Robin.
Yeah. Like maybe whoever drew it was looking off other.
But that's kind of a cool drawing. It has kind of a mottled color.
Mm-hmm.
Looks pretty good. Just for a dumb ad. This must be, this is the era of the Super Friends cartoon. That's kind of what this looks like these are flashlights, little pocket flashlights for kids.
Oh, cool.
Wonder Woman art looks kind of like that Super Friends design. And sticker sheets. The sticker sheets have Captain Marvel and Superman. Wow, that's a big ad. That's a 4-page Clark ad. That's nuts.
Wow.
I guess it's not just Clark, it's all the candy bars. Oh shit, look at this Superman lamp. I don't want one of those.
Yeah. Is there a
radio controlled Spider-Mobile?
Surely there is a book or a website out there that actually shows you what you would have gotten sent from all these comic book ads.
Yeah, there must be, right? Like that would be like the first thing that somebody put on the internet
Probably.
when it came out,
Probably.
right? After the Clark ad, we're in the conference room on Weber's World, and they're about to begin the conference, the peace conference between Anton Relnick, representative of the United Planets, and the Dominators.
Now, did you say he was a science police officer? Or
no, Ontier is a science police officer. Anton Relnick is the ambassador whose headquarters is Weber's World. Always a good guy. Never wound up being a turncoat that I recall. But within like 1, 2, 3, 4 panels, he's like, if you won't consent to a discussion of the issues, this is a farce, and he's going to end the peace talks.
I question his diplomatic skills. This seems like a good way to start a war. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Slamming your fist on the table.
Right. Yeah. That's right off the bat.
Right.
He's like, "What, you guys?"
That's it.
And what do they even say? The Dominators say it's been the policy of the Dominion to maintain peace at almost any cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the United Planets' encroachment of our sphere of influence has made that impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks that's baloney. And they say, "Oh yeah, we're here to speak of peace terms, not to weigh issues according to our various philosophies." And that sets him off. He's like, "We're done."
Yeah. Maybe it's just because I've been staring at this page the whole time, but I'm looking at this picture of the Dominator, the big red circle. I mean, is it like a Chinese stereotype stand-in? Like this is the US and China?
I don't think so. I hope not.
I hope not too.
Yeah, they're like, let's make them yellow.
Right.
With a red circle.
Right.
That's the Japanese flag, though.
Right. I don't know. I'm just, between him being yellow, the red circle, and he's got these kind of squinted eyes.
Yeah, I hope it's not supposed to be some kind of stand-in for like the East taking over the West or something weird like that. Because I don't think the United States never really had a thing with Japan during World War II, of course, and never really with China until kind of recently.
But if it was supposed to be like some sort of stereotype or something, I could see how they just jumble all these. They're all Asian. Yeah. You just throw it all together.
Right. Yeah. Like Paul Levitz is like, well, let's make it the Yellow Menace, whoever they are.
Right.
I'm Paul Levitz. I hate Asian people. Just kidding. I'm sure they're just yellow aliens designed back in 1966. Right.
All the Asian people are on an island that has disappeared for 200 years.
Mm-hmm.
Off on detached duty.
Detached duty. Yep.
So they're always sitting in Tyrock.
Oh, and here's where the Legionnaires fight the robots that we see on the cover.
Right.
They're on Weber's World. They're like, the Legionnaires are trying to stop the peace conference or interrupt it, and Ontier is not going to let them. He sicks the robots on them. Mm-hmm. Legionnaires beat the fuck out of the robots.
Yeah, and that was the page I was telling you about. Those bottom 4, I think, are my favorite drawings in the book. Mm-hmm. And again, they look very similar to those tiny figures on the yellow.
Yeah,
they've got that Simonson-y look to me. the squinty eyes. And
the Sunboy pose is, I don't know, is that like a Simonson kind of pose? It looks like another artist, but maybe it's just, I don't know.
I think that's a pretty standard. Like he's taking a poop.
Yeah, kind of. But they are all really clear. This looks like the wildfire looks like a kind of Wally Wood kind of pose, like a Thunder Agents looking pose.
Oh, yeah.
But they're all really, pretty clear. And they're just like beating up the robots using their powers, sound effects.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe could Jack Abel have done more of the drawings on these, like, than Staton or something?
I don't know. Like, you think maybe they're just completely drawn by Jack Abel?
Well, these, much like the background figures earlier, like pretty small. Maybe he didn't put as much detail in the pencils, and Abel did more of the finished drawing.
Yeah, that could be. Like, it's kind of like you like the embellishment of these panels.
Maybe so. Maybe that's what it is. Like maybe they were drawing technical pins or something instead. I don't know what is different about them, but
yeah.
Well, they're at that distance where they use the just all black to show like kind of like shadows being cast from their underneath their foreheads. Like they've got those big black triangles for eyes, kind of.
Yeah, I think maybe it's mainly because the figures are just so small, like particularly in the case of Superboy and Sunboy, like the full figure is in the panel,
right?
And it's like 25% of the page height,
right?
So yeah, maybe he just whatever he does when he draws real small guys, or inks them rather. But there's these little figures way up here in the first panel too that look kind of cool. This is like the Wayne Boring running flying almost for Superboy. And
oh yeah,
it almost looks like he's intentionally drawing it like Wayne Boring.
Yeah. I've never been successful at drawing that without it looking like one of the legs is amputated.
Mm-hmm. They finally enter the conference room and they discover no one is in there.
Yeah, they vanished.
They're trying to solve the mystery of the vanished Brainiac 5, and they get in there and there's not even a dust particle out of place, but Relnick and the Dominators are gone.
Oh yes, this is another page I really like.
Yeah, me too. This is another one that looked to me like a Rick Estrada kind of montage drawing.
It reminds me of Gil Kane.
Yeah, and even the lettering up here looks pretty good.
Oh yeah, well those look like your letters.
Yeah, that must be why I like it. But yeah, this shows just the Coons taking over planet Earth, the soldiers and the tanks and the spaceships again. This is what we saw on that other page, that Brainiac 5 was observing them. Mm-hmm. Now we get a close-up view. And here's some science police officers just getting their asses handed to them. This is actually pretty good, like Warzone kind of a drawing here. Mm-hmm. I wonder if this is like cribbed from, some Vietnam photo or something.
The guy kind of diving in the middle.
And yeah, like this guy, he's getting knocked over and the gun's kind of flying out of his hand. Right. It's pretty good. And these guys are sort of in a fog of gun smoke. Mm-hmm. And here's where we see the substitute heroes show up. They're like the last line of super defense that Earth has, because the Legionnaires are all separated out. They're on Weber's world. They're on they're getting their asses beat in space, etc. Fire Lad, the use of his power looks really strange. Like he's just kind of vomiting out fire. He has fire breath or something.
What was it before? I thought it was always fire breath.
It's always been that. Yeah, it just looks really weird. I've never really made a note of, like, he just kind of like has his mouth kind of halfway open and there's a flame coming out of it.
Yeah. Again, like, why do you suppose a character that could do that would be rejected from the Legion?
What, blow fire?
Because of Sunboy, I guess?
Yeah, partly because of Sunboy, but I think partly he didn't have control of his power, or maybe couldn't generate enough fire to do anything.
Right.
That's really why they were all rejected, is because their powers are either pointless or they just don't know how to use them.
The duplicate rule must make an exception for like Superboy and Mon-El, right? Because they've got like a dozen power. Well, okay, first of all, they have the same powers, but on top of that, I mean, they can freeze stuff with their breath. They can make fire, heat things up with their vision. There's several characters that have powers that they have.
Yeah, that's true. I think
I think they just say that for people they don't want to join. Sorry, we got somebody. Superboy has one of those powers. You can't join.
Yeah. Well, I think they sometimes make the distinction that Superboy is he's not a full-time Legionnaire, so that's why you can have Mon-El. Or the fact that those two guys have a different weakness,
right,
means they technically they have a different power, right. The weakness is different or something like that.
And there's Supergirl also. Yeah. I think they're just snobs, and the rules only count when they don't want someone to join.
But they never really had a story where they had an applicant and they were just like, we don't like this guy. He's kind of a jerk. Give him the usual line. Somebody already has his powers. We've already got a whatever X-ray vision guy. We got him. Got that. Right.
Like Polar Boy. No, wait a minute. Was he not allowed because it wasn't because of his power? Maybe it was because of his age. He was either too young or too old. Maybe that was what it was.
That sounds right, but it also could be that he didn't know how to use his powers well enough. But he's like the first one. He's the guy who got the team together, right?
Right. Night Girl's sort of the obvious. Like, you can see why she would not be on the team, even though she was one of the couple that did finally become members.
Well, and she was more of a member than Polar. Like Polar Boy officially became a member, but in this is 1978, and something like 1988, or 10 years later or something, he gets on the team. But Night Girl's always hanging out with Cosmic Boy. She's having adventures with Shadow Lass. She's kind of a team member of the real Legion.
But it just goes to show what a clique the Legion is, because the best argument to keep someone out would apply to her powers, I think, because they're very limited in their use. But she's dating the leader, so
yeah.
Polar Boy had a pretty respectable run there. He was the leader for a while.
Yeah, no, he had a real good power,
Yeah.
I was just going to say which Legionnaire would be most likely to secretly shit on Night Girl being basically a member of the Legion. They're like, oh, I guess Night Girl's here again. Wildfire maybe.
I feel like it would be one of the girls.
Oh, really? It's kind of a chauvinist attitude.
Well, I don't know. I feel like where I work, the ladies are always shitting on other ladies that I work with.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Dream Girl?
But I think
it seems like they would all hate Princess Projector.
Yeah. You're still thinking about it.
They'd all hate Princess Projector for sure, because she's rich.
Oh. Yeah, she's rich and she has a boyfriend.
Anyway.
This is a whole sequence where the substitutes are just fighting for Earth. Just a couple of pages. They do a good job, but they are beaten.
Right. Yeah, it's a little weird because it sort of builds them up like this is going to be their big moment, like their big heroic moment where they prove themselves. But alas, they're miserable failures because they have second-rate powers.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of...
For there is a reason why they were not accepted to the Legion. Their powers are simply too weak to serve them well.
I guess he does put it right there in the text, huh? But to me, the way the story was told made it seem like they really put up their best, most valiant effort, but like just nobody is going to beat these invading forces, and it's just kind of hopeless.
Right.
I felt like they did a good job in the issue of really emphasizing the hopelessness of the Khund invasion, or of repelling the Khund invasion.
Yeah.
It reminded me of those later moon explosion and earth explosion ones
where they're like commandos.
Yeah, but I mean the storytelling of those issues it shows different little spots on Earth, like preparing for like the moon pieces to crash land on Earth.
Right.
And it shows I don't know, it has this kind of more of an overview kind of approach to the storytelling versus a character level approach. Right. And it almost seemed like they were looking at it, at a comic like this as a guidepost to tell their story in those later ones.
I can see that. I feel like this scene reminds me of 5 years later as well with the subs. Like they're sort of introduced this way and like, but they're shown more competently, maybe almost to a fault, because I felt like it started getting repetitive through the 5-year run. Like each time they'd show up, it'd be like, whoa, they're not idiots anymore. They're tough guys now.
Right. Yeah, they're even better mercenaries.
Right.
Even more hard-nosed.
And maybe
every time they show up.
Didn't feel that repetitive if I was reading them, once a month instead of like all in a row, but I felt like they were just hitting me on the head with that quite a bit through the 5-year later run.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, look, they're not idiots.
I mean, they're not idiots here either.
No.
Maybe that's why, like, they kind of rehabilitated them in this issue and maybe around this period if they showed up elsewhere. Like they in the Silver Age stories, they were like, their powers were silly and they goofed up, but they also managed to save the planet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Here they're straight up trying to, like, they're taking themselves very seriously as heroes. The story takes them seriously to a degree. Like they still kind of undermine them in this one caption.
At least till Giffen gets a hold of them and he kind of like makes them silly again.
Yeah, then he does that special and they're all silly and people were super pissed about that.
I mean, I've said it before, but the 2 or 3 solo stories they had in the 60s are like my favorite Legion issues of that era. They're just, I find those stories more compelling, maybe because the odds are more against them. And it's just interesting to see how are they going to pull this off with these useless powers.
Who wrote those? Were those Siegel or were they Hamilton or somebody else? Binder, maybe?
I can't remember if it was Hamilton or Binder, but one of them said somewhere, I'm going to have to look this up and confirm it, but I think they said they were their favorite characters to work with. So they didn't appear that often.
Yeah.
Probably for a similar reason. Made for more interesting stories. Because they're like the underdogs.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be fun to write them as like underdogs with a lot of heart and then have to figure out a way to use those powers to like solve a big problem.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, and this is the panel here of Color Kid that Ty Templeton cribbed this for Who's Who in the Legion. It's the same pose kind of. Ty Templeton turned this pose of Color Kid getting shot in the back into like a cool, I'm looking at the ground kind of pose.
Right. Which seems like with a guy as accomplished as Templeton is, seems like it is more likely an homage than a swipe. Like to me, because it just seems like he could easily come up with a good pose for the character.
Right. But like when you put them side by side, it's like this is the same drawing. And then there was another instance of that too. But yeah, he's probably just like finding the reference of the full body shots of these guys in the comics and just going from there.
That makes sense.
This is a page where the Coons overtake the presidential palace on Earth. So I guess they're taking over the government. They're killing more science police officers. And actually, do you remember a detail that there's only 100 science police officers on Earth? I feel like that was in maybe Who's Who or something in the Legion.
It doesn't sound familiar to me. Like a limitation there.
Something got it in my head that there's like a very small force. And that was part of why.
It's a good idea. Maybe they should have even less.
Yeah.
They could put that money towards programs. Like what is that thing called? The
psycho care.
The rehabilitation rate that they use.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, how much like the salary of one science police officer could probably provide, well, I don't know, 100 people with psycho care, right?
Right. So having trigger happy science police officers shooting every Durlian they pull over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not sad to see these science police officers get shot by the Coons because I mean, if it was a single individual coon out by himself, what are the science police going to do to him?
Right.
We should really, definitely have fewer on Earth.
50.
But I think they also in Magic Wars, I think they have a scene where some science police officer complains that they're overburdened with, I don't know, with whatever calls that they have to answer because like there's no electricity and stuff, like all the scientific shit is going away, and there's only a handful of science police officers on the planet to take care of this stuff, so they can't take care of it. But then they cut to this ultimate leader of the Kundian army, and he reveals that they're being driven by the Dark Circle. Dark Circle isn't a new concept, right? They're from the Silver Age too, right?
They are. I can't remember if that was Shooter. I want to say it might even be before him.
Yeah, I don't remember at all. But they used them throughout as a kind of a shadowy. I don't really know what the goals of the Dark Circle ever was. But yeah, they're trying to destroy Earth, or I don't know if this plan is to kind of take care of Earth, the Dominators, and the Coons, if like kind of that's what's happening, or if they're just trying to take over Earth.
Aren't they like nationalists in 5 years later? That wouldn't make sense in this context, I guess.
Yeah, I don't remember the politics at all of what because there was only a handful or a couple of issues where they focus on the Dark Circle. I think they kind of tease that as maybe a plot point that they're going to get to, and they never really get to it very much.
Wasn't there a cover or two that had a bunch of, I can't remember now. Didn't they have like a dark circle on their head or something if they're part of it or something?
Yeah, they wore like a Cobra Commander mask that just has a circle on it.
Right. Well, there's like a group shot with a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. That was a cool cover, real dark, kind of purpley looking cover. Now we cut back to Legion headquarters, and it's being protected by a force field, and we're picking back up on this emergency signal. What is it? This is a signal that's being sent to Legion headquarters by these guys to try and alert them that they're on the way. Is that what that means? It says within the headquarters that unassuming alarm light still glows, revealing the secret of the invasion to any Legionnaire who might gaze at it.
Yes, it's revealed on the next page how
we see that these four Legionnaires who got married and quit the team are trying to fly to the rescue. Bouncing Boy, Duo Damsel, Lightning Lass.
They were vacationing, I think, but they also received that same alert. Bouncing Boy's looking down at it.
Yeah, were they all four on vacation together? Kind of looks like it. On the super fun sounding planet RK528, where you go for a vacation.
Oh yeah,
it's like a sandals resort, but it's RK528. And so they're flying to Earth to do what they can, or die trying. Element or a Lightning Lad says. And they're cool.
A little teaser montage at the end here.
Yeah, looks pretty nice. There's Antir in the back looking kind of like he's scheming, but I think he's a good guy through this. He's really kind of brown green in this comic. I remember him just being yellow in the Giffen issues.
Right.
It says next issue, learn what happened to the disappearing diplomats. Watch four heroes face off against a planet and see if you can unravel the riddle of the dark circle that crushed Earth. All the clues you need are in this issue. I wonder what are the clues? Do you think the clues are the big Zidilians and the black hole and this big question marker on Brainiac 5 maybe is a clue?
Well, I'm sure we'll find out sometime in the next couple of years when we get around to the issue that's right after this one.
Yeah. But we might even read the two issues before this one before we get to the conclusion.
Right. Yeah, this is a 5-part story. That seems unheard of to me for this early point in the history of the comic. Like, I don't think there was anything close to this long. They had 2-parters all the time, but
yeah, definitely in Legion there was never a 5-parter before this. I don't know if like other comics.
Yeah, I don't mean like
surely there's.
I don't mean all comics ever. I just mean in the Legion. I don't remember.
Yeah, but still, it's even kind of unheard of for like a newsstand comic in the 70s to have that long of a storyline.
Right.
Off the top of my head, I can't really think of other ones that were long, except for like Monster Society of Evil or something that went for 3 years or whatever it was.
So he's slowly extending his storylines. Soon he'll realize he can just make it a 60-part story.
Right.
That never ends.
So far, this issue was totally devoted to the EARTHWAR story. There wasn't any like, oh, we're going to see what's happening to Matter Ear Lad.
Right. Well, there are those kinds of asides, but they all tie in because the action's going on in at least 4 different places, but they all tie in.
But see, in like the Universo project or whatever. There's the Universo kidnapping storyline, but then we're also still seeing whatever the fuck Mon-El is doing.
Right.
Like he's putting an addition on his house or whatever he's doing,
Right. So is that's a wrap, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole story.
Well, not the whole story, 1/5 of it, but.
Oh, yeah. This is kind of a striking BMX bike ad on the back.
I don't think I've ever seen that ad before. Most ads I've seen a billion times.
Yeah, I don't remember this either. It's got "Bring it on home," real 70s kind of phrase.
Doesn't really go with the top one is very 80s.
Yeah.
And then you have like the 70s. It's like it belongs on a nature shot or something.
Yeah, or like a
beer.
Yeah, it's more like a beer ad or like a trucker or something.
Right. Oh, yeah. I guess I can see that.
Yeah, that is weird. It really straddles the line. Like the guy who did this stuff was like, what? Why'd you bring in the old timer to put this stupid country lettering on it?
Right.
Wow, get your super 2 foot by 3 foot BMX poster. Super size 2 foot by 3 foot. In my opinion, a 2 foot by 3 foot size poster is like a standard poster. Every poster is that size.
Maybe so. That sounds right.
Yeah. Good one. Good art. I like Jack Abel art or inking. I don't like him on Jim Sherman, but in general, I like his inking.
Yeah. Is he the guy we were talking about who tends to overpower the right? I don't detect that as much here as in some of the other books we've gone over. Maybe in some places, but
I think I don't know, it's kind of a good mix in my opinion, because like when you look at Joe Staton artwork, it's kind of loosey-goosey and like there's like in the Karate Kids series, Staton was the inker on Estrada for a lot of it. And like, I don't think he's an appropriate inker for Estrada. I mean, nobody is. Estrada is the best inker on Estrada, but it's like he's using a brush and he's got a lot of blobs and a lot of like blobs that go to like a fine wiggly line and stuff in the Staton inks. And I guess, I mean, I assume that his penciling is kind of like that too, kind of like, I don't know, like his lines or his shapes are broken up, or there's a lot of open shapes. And then I guess Jack Abel doesn't do that. Everything is like a solid outline.
Right.
And so I guess the Abel kind of fixes the stuff that I don't really like about Staton.
Staton always seems to me like I don't know if he did any time in animation, but he just seems like he could have come from that world.
He's kind of cartoony, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was it. Superboy and the Legion, 243.
Yay.